Welcome back to News Talk. The death of 24-year-old police officer Noah Leota to a drunk driver this week highlights the issue of driving while intoxicated. Officer Leota was the victim of a drunk driver. Yesterday, Montgomery County Police Chief Thomas Manger had some fiery words about what he called lax Maryland drunk driving laws.
The fact that Noah was out trying to prevent that crime, that crime that ended up killing him, I hope that shines a light on this case and shines a light on the fact that the state of Maryland has some of the weakest penalties for drunk drivers. And in fact, as we look ahead to the prosecution of this case, I can tell you that whenever it's done, there's little chance of real justice being done. Because until the state of Maryland starts taking these crimes, and I'm talking about the crime of a drunk driver behind the wheel of a car who's killing someone, until they take this crime seriously, there is no justice for these families. There are no justice for these victims. And I hope that this case shines a light on that.
And here to talk more about all of this is Kurt Erickson from the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, known as RAP. Good to see you, Kurt. Thanks for coming in. So new information we're hearing about that particular incident is that the drunk driver who killed Officer Leota had been drinking for 4 hours prior to getting behind the wheel, also smoking marijuana, also that he had 2 prior DUI arrests and still has not been charged in this case. The chief maintains that the drunk driving laws are too lax. So are they, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, you can feel the chief's pain, and I don't deny him that at all. The fact of the matter is he serves as chief in a county that has long prioritized DUI enforcement and whose DUI arrest numbers are up. They average a DUI arrest in Montgomery County, on the average, every 2 hours. It's nearly 4,000 DUI arrests last year. So it's staggering. But I think that his frustration is probably not unique to Montgomery County. I think if you talk to any chiefs around the Beltway, I think there's a general shared frustration with DUI, especially in an area like the Greater Washington area where we have nearly 18,000 DUI arrests. And no matter all of those arrests, alcohol is still responsible. Drunk drivers are still responsible for 1/3 of all of Greater Washington's traffic deaths. It's got to be uniquely frustrating to be out there locking people up, but still feel like you're not making a difference.
Yeah. Now, in Maryland, is there a differentiation between DUI and DWI? And if so, what is that?
Yeah, Maryland has some very interesting laws in the fact that they actually have a bifurcated system where they charge some people at 0.07 blood alcohol concentration and then at 0.08. 0.08 being the law of the land. All 50 U.S. states plus the District of Columbia say that 0.08 is considered drunk driving. I think where Maryland lacks is a couple of stereotypical things that have long been failures on Maryland's part. One is they give what's called probation before judgment findings for most DUI offenses. So most first-time DUI offenses, if you get a DUI in the state of Maryland, more likely than not, you're going to get a slap on the wrist in form of what's called a probation before judgment, which is probation. The other thing that Maryland seemingly lacks is they're not ahead of the curve in terms of the embrace of technology to combat and to prevent drunk driving. 25 U.S. states and the majority surrounding Maryland, including Virginia, West Virginia, and Delaware, all require in-car breathalyzers, or what's commonly called ignition interlock devices, for all persons convicted of a DUI. Maryland simply requires that for a couple of subgroups. They require it for persons that are driving at a high blood alcohol concentration level, persons that are transporting a minor in the vehicle if they're arrested for a DUI, and underage offenders, if they get a DUI in that state, have to have this technology, which is a shame because it's a technology that's offender paid, and it's ripe for the using, but Maryland really has yet to embrace it.
And does that work? Do those ignition locks really work?
Oh, they work tremendously well. And I don't mean to couch it as a panacea. There's not one silver bullet on the issue of drunk driving, but states that have done this have seen markedly positive numbers. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says that when you have interlocks in your car, you'll see a 50 to 90% drop in DUI recidivism. And some of the states that have had this longer, like New Mexico and Arizona, they've seen a 40 and 45% drop in alcohol-related traffic fatalities, respectively.
Wow, so that's one area where maybe Maryland could shore things up a little bit.
Well, absolutely. And it's not to say that they're not doing it right now. The fact of the matter is they have 11,000 people on interlocks, and legislative attempts to have more than that in a state where you annually arrest 24,000 people for drunk driving. It's not to say that there's other routes. One of the things that's going on in Maryland right now is not waiting for the legislature to be motivated on this issue, but there's a regulatory approach, which is done by the Motor Vehicle Administration right now, to have more people be able to opt into the program. Right now, you can only opt into the interlock program if you have these high VAC levels, and they want to make it available for all.
Other than the ignition locks, education programs, they're available. Do they work?
They absolutely work. The fact of the matter is that's one of the things that we are strongly in favor of. We reach about 9,000, the Washington Regional Alcohol Program reaches about 9,000 high school students every year, because no matter what laws you have on the books, you have a new crop of drivers, 16-year-old drivers, unleashed into our roadways every single year. And there's a prevention effort that we undertake to try to make sure that these young drivers, which are overrepresented in fatal car crashes where alcohol is a factor, are adequately educated on the issue.
Now, the chief says that the penalties are lax in Maryland, and I just want to go over some of the penalties. Sure. You say for a first offense, you can get your license suspended. 60 days behind bars for a DWI, but 6 months for a DUI. You get a $1,000 fine and a year in prison. Does that sound like?
Yeah, well, these are all good on paper. The fact of the matter is they're not just simply being deployed. That's what I'm saying, that more often than not, you're getting a probation before judge and finding a free pass. Let me just say, this problem is such a big problem in Maryland that about 10 years ago, and it came out of Montgomery County as well, there was legislation, now law, that says you can only get one PBJ every 10 years. In other words, people were getting so many of these, and when there was a study done by MVA 10 years ago on the issue, people were getting first and second PBJs. So it's a diversion program that's not working, and it really needs to be shaped up.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about your organization, WRAP, and I guess people pretty much know you as the organization that offers Sober Ride. Yep. So this is the holiday season. How will Sober Ride be helping people who want to go out and party a little bit?
Well, we're starting it tonight, and we're running for 21 consecutive evenings, so 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. every single night between now and including New Year's Eve. If you're of legal drinking age in D.C., Maryland, Virginia, which is 21, and you're celebrating the holidays with alcohol, you can call 1-800-200-TAXI. It's 8294, and be afforded a free and a safe way home. It's a program we started back in 1993 to try to remove Greater Washington area roadways from drunk drivers, and since that time, over 63,000 people have done the right thing and availed themselves of this local life-saving service.
You are taking a lot of drunk drivers potentially off the roads over the holidays. We appreciate that. And you're a nonprofit, isn't that right, Kurt?
That's right.
How are you funding this Sober Ride program for almost a month now?
That's my favorite question that I wish would get asked more of, just for the fact that I think we've done a very good job of institutionalizing the program, but maybe to our fault in the fact that people think that it's a government-related entity and it's always been around, it's always going to be around. It's actually paid for by a 3-person nonprofit organization called the Washington Regional Alcohol Program that works with corporate sponsors to help defray these costs, and the costs are significant. We're annually stroking a check of $40,000 to $50,000 just to cover the cab fares for this program, but we, as well as our sponsors, find that it's important.
So you could use some donations.
We could absolutely use donations. We can absolutely use donations. We're a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible as allowed by law. And if you are looking for a year-round deduction, you can go to wrap.org. In fact, the very front page allows you can do your donation online.
We're out of time. Kurt Erickson with WRAP, thanks so much for coming in.
Happy holidays.
Have a safe holiday. We're back with the program note right after this.